If you're at a restaurant, you order something and it comes to the table and it's not to your liking for one reason or another. Maybe it lacks flavor, whatever the case may be. Do you send it back? This is a topic that Russ and I have been discussing all weekend, actually. And I want to let you guys in on the discussion. I want to hear what you guys have to say because I think it's an interesting topic and one I'd like to get a little bit more into. And I figure we might as well wander around one of my favorite places to go for a walk, the path between Hollywood Studios and Epcot. Of course, right now we're currently at BoardWalk, just pulled off by the pool. It is kind of early, so there's no one here. This is like a little grill where you can grill up some burgers or whatever and eat them at the table. There's also a little fire pit over here, which I imagine is where they do s'mores, or I don't know, maybe not, because I could have sworn I've seen them do s'mores out on that like lawn area by the lobby. Anyway, let's keep moving. So this conversation is kind of rooted in our experience that we had at Coral Reef recently. We have a dining review you can check out over on the channel. Come along with us for the experience and see what we had to say. But you know, the long and short of it, just to kind of cut to the chase, it wasn't a great experience. The restaurant was beautiful, we enjoyed that, but the food was not good. And you know, we found that a lot of you have had similar experiences at Coral Reef over the years. It's just one of those places you've maybe eaten at once or twice, it wasn't memorable, it wasn't good, and so you haven't gone back, which is what I have heard from people who talk about Coral Reef when they do talk about Coral Reef, because not a lot of people do, you know? Just one of those places that seemingly exists, but no one really discusses it. Anyway, among those comments, one of you had something to say about sending dishes back. If it's not to your liking, if it's not right, if it's under-seasoned, whatever the case may be, send it back. Make sure that they correct it, not only so that you get a dish that you can actually enjoy, but also so that these restaurants know that there's issues that need to be corrected and actually are incentivized to correct them. Now, fundamentally, I agree, 100%. I don't think you should ever be shy about sending something back if it's not to your liking, if it's not right, certainly if it's not all there or if it's not cooked appropriately. Like, you have to send it back in that case. No question. In fact, we've done this a few times over the years. You guys haven't seen it. Actually, you may have seen it once when we sent back a coffee to a Joffrey's kiosk because it was just terrible. There was no way around it. But in other cases, we weren't doing a dining review or vlogging at all for that matter. The most notable example of this for me happened at a place here in the local area called Ford's Garage. Now, you may have heard me talking about this in previous discussions. I want to say it was when we were talking about automatic gratuity, because Ford's Garage has an automatic 20% added to all bills, and it was by far the worst dining experience we've ever had. And one of the things that made it one of the worst dining experiences, it was a collection of things, but is related to me not getting what I ordered. Basically, my entree hit the table and it was missing half the ingredients, and you know, from there it was like a whole to-do of me trying to get that corrected. Anyway, I mention that to illustrate that, you know what, it's not always sunshine and rainbows, not even for us. Though, in all honesty, it has pretty much been positive every time we've eaten at a Walt Disney World table service restaurant, whether you're there with us or not. We really haven't run into any problems. And truthfully, the food hasn't even ever really been that bad before our trip to Coral Reef. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, well, hold on a second. You said that you've sent back dishes before if they didn't meet your expectations, and you said that Coral Reef wasn't good. Why didn't you send that back? That's a great question, and I'm so glad you asked, because it gives me the opportunity to share a little bit of insight with you when it comes to how we do things here on the channel, like how we go about doing our dining reviews. The long and short of it, when it comes to reviewing food, okay? Doesn't matter where we're getting that food, whether it's a grab and go, quick service, table service, food booth, whatever, is that we're reviewing what it is that we're being served, the way it's being served. What arrives to us is what's receiving that review. If it's ugly, you're gonna know about it because you're gonna see it looking ugly. If it's not flavored appropriately, if it's missing elements, or if it's not seasoned well, you're gonna know about that because that's what was served to us. I know it's gonna sound super brutal, and that's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm a firm believer, and Russ is too. I know he's not here having this discussion with us today, but we're both firm believers that you don't get a second chance at a first impression. And as the customer, it's not our job to cultivate the meal so that it meets our expectations, especially if our expectations is that it's going to be what was listed on the menu. Now that might be a brutal take, depending on who you are and what you want out of a dining review. But you know what? I think it's the most honest way to review a place. And before I go any further, I just want to be clear that I'm not having this discussion with you because I feel like I have to defend myself. As I'm talking to you, I feel like maybe it might come off in that way. Absolutely not. That's not my intention. I just want to give you guys a little bit of insight and let you know why we do what we do in case you're wondering, you know? Also, the person who left this comment, there was like no nastiness or negativity behind it. I actually want to just take a second. I forgot to mention this earlier because my brain was kind of chugging, but I want to just say that I am so happy that they love coral reef because they said that in their comment. Here, I'll show you right here. I want you to love places, even if I don't. And if a place works for you, even if it doesn't work for me, that's fantastic. I am not the end-all be-all. I'm just one person sharing my opinion in as honest a way as possible so that you can figure out what's right for you. And coral reef might be that place that's right for you, might be worth it for you. For me, not so much, but you know, just my opinion. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I don't really think that as the guest, as the customer, you should be obligated to send your meal back in order to make corrections when those corrections are like, these should have been garlic mashed potatoes, and they're not, you know? Now, does that mean that things are going to be 100% all the time? Of course not, right? Like, let's be reasonable here. But should things be consistently good at all Walt Disney World table service restaurants? Absolutely. And they just don't seem to be with coral reef. By the way, just a quick moment of silence for the discarded French fries right here. Oh, what a sad sight here on the bridge that crosses over toward the International Gateway. All that having been said, one of the reasons that Russ and I have been talking about this all weekend isn't just about the experience that we had at Coral Reef, but the comment suggesting that more people should send their meals back had us trying to figure out why more people don't seem to go this route. And I think there's like this whole long list of reasons as to why. Sometimes it's a matter of convenience, you know? Like if you watched our Coral Reef video, you probably heard that there was like a kid that was screaming in the background. It's part of dining at a table service late at night at a theme park. It's no big deal, right? But I bring that up because do you think that mom who's been in the parks presumably all day is trying to navigate mealtime with overtired and overstimulated kids? Do you think that mom is like, no, let's flag down a waitress and make sure that we can get this meal corrected? Or is that mom just scoffing down her food so that they can make their way to the fireworks show? Presumably, the second option. You know, it's also 2025 and we're all plugged into some electronic device for a good chunk of our day, right? So odds are, if you're on social media, you may have heard people talking about the do's and don'ts of ordering at restaurants and what is and isn't acceptable, which sometimes comes from servers or people who work at restaurants who are just trying to blow off a little bit of steam, and they might make some people a little nervous to actually send their meal back. Some people may even be concerned about the repercussions of doing just that, which seems ridiculous, but I also know that that's a concern that a lot of people have. But there's another thing that I think social media has done when it comes to just like overall quality of products and services. Restaurants fall into this category as well. And that is the labeling of people, calling them a Karen or entitled, or any number of other labels that is used as a lazy way to shut people up when they're talking about something in an unfavorable or negative way. Don't like your meal? Want to send it back? You're a Karen. Think that what you ordered should be right the first time? Wow, that's super entitled of you. In fact, I can almost guarantee that if this video does well enough, you know, it resonates with people and gets a certain number of views, I'll probably get comments that say this about me. And while I recognize that that's just a lazy attempt to shut me up, especially when I'm talking honestly, which is something that a lot of people don't like, though far more people do, so I'm not gonna stop, just in case you were wondering. Other people, they don't want that negativity in their life. When you couple this with some of the other just inconveniences of trying to speak up so that you can make those corrections. I can see why people would opt to not, you know? But of course, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Like, where do you stand on this? Are you someone who's more likely to let things slide? You know, like, as long as it's not undercooked or completely wrong, you're just like, whatever, it's edible. Or are you someone who will speak up? You will flag down your server and you'll say, hey, this isn't right, I need it corrected. If that's you, I'd love to know what your experience has been like at Walt Disney World. Now, like I said, this hasn't been something that I've ever dealt with at a Walt Disney World table service restaurant, so I don't really have any experience to speak to. But when this has happened elsewhere, it's been a problem. Like I mentioned regarding Ford's Garage that we talked about earlier, by the time my correction hit the table, it was after we had already gotten the check. So is that just really terrible service? Probably. But is that the experience that you have had? I kind of feel like that's an outlier, but again, this isn't something that happens all that often to me, so I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, before we move on from here, because there are some other things that I want to talk to you about regarding the BoardWalk, we have to check in over there, there's something going on over there, and there's news over here, like there's a lot. If you're someone who's more likely than not to let this type of thing slide, why is that? Is it the inconvenience factor for you? You know, like not wanting to have to wait however long for your corrected meal to hit the table? Is it pressure from social media? Is it something else? Do you not want to inconvenience the server? Like, I'd love to know your thoughts, so pop them in a comment down below as well. It's just one of those interesting discussions that seems on the surface so straightforward. You should get what you paid for, and you should be able to speak up about that and communicate to whoever you need to communicate to that things weren't right. But it's also in a number of ways so complicated because there are all these little things that drive our decision-making process, you know? So again, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, but let's talk a little bit about what's been going on here at the BoardWalk. I didn't see much happening at the yacht or beach club. Like, obviously there's stuff going on. I see a crane in the distance. I don't know if that's, oh yes, that is at the beach club because they are updating the main entrance. And then there are some other little things happening here and there. There's a little bit of work going on at the yacht club. And then on our walk over, there was like miscellaneous work happening along the pathway. But there's some actual news here at the BoardWalk. So first and foremost, I'm kind of strategically positioned so you can't see what's going on, but there's a class happening on the lawn, a little fitness class going on this morning, which is really cool. If you're staying at a Walt Disney World Resort hotel, doesn't matter what category of hotel you're staying at, check the schedule, see what's going on, because there are activities that take place at the resorts that you might be interested in, and it's a great way to kind of fill a day if you're not going to be at the parks, or if maybe you have plans for the parks later on. It is kind of early right now, it's only like 9:36. But that's not what I wanted to share with you. The piece of news that I wanted to share is about the store right over here. This is the art gallery where you can buy various art pieces. They have some beautiful stuff in here. Often they set up at the Festival of the Arts as well, so you don't have to come all the way here to BoardWalk if you want to buy like a $65,000 table, end table or something, but you can buy one over there. Apparently they're going to be closing their location here at the BoardWalk. Now, I've heard that they might be opening up elsewhere, but I don't know where. We'll keep you posted. Of course, shopping at this particular spot isn't going to be for everyone. It's not what I would describe as a budget-friendly gift shop, but still, there are some of you out there who that might be right up your alley. I do think that they have some great options in there, especially if you're into art and you want more of a everyday souvenir, you know, something that you can hang on the wall and enjoy every single day, as opposed to something that's much more affordable but gonna get tossed in a box or a bin. But this is interesting because it's another shop on this side of the BoardWalk that's closing. Now, if you're familiar with how things have been going here at the BoardWalk, you may already know this, but if you're not, let's just all get up to speed. So this side of the BoardWalk has been struggling. We have this table service restaurant which closed and never reopened. I don't even know if there's plans to do anything with this, but down the way we also have Jelly Rolls, which was the piano bar, which also closed and remains closed. This closed fairly recently, so it's not as big a deal as this right here. But way at the end of the boardwalk, we also have the Atlantic Dance Hall, which personally, I think its days are numbered. We don't have any official information on that or anything, but it's far from a popular spot. And I don't know, it just feels like something's not quite right on this side of the boardwalk with the way that things have closed and not returned. It's actually kind of sad. You know, the boardwalk used to be kind of its own thing. Something a little different from a standard Walt Disney World Resort hotel, because it offered more than just accommodations and, you know, your bare minimum recreation offerings. They have that club, the Atlantic Dance Hall, where you could dance, and then they had the piano bar, other live entertainment as well, great dining there too. So it almost kind of felt, I mean, I guess you could say like a downtown Disney light. This is prior to the transition over to Disney Springs, which is kind of similar, but not, in my opinion. Anyway, that's a whole nother can of worms. But all this to say, it was a vibe, you know? Oh, looks like they're doing something over here that's blocking access to the tennis courts. Looks like we can still get there through that opening, but this one is closed. But yeah, it was a vibe. It was a vibe. And like things do, you know, things kind of shifted at the boardwalk. And then with 2020, it was the opportunity for them to really, you know, take a hatchet to what I think they wanted to change, which is the story when it comes to everything Walt Disney World. Honestly, it's a story when it comes to every business everywhere. So, but what has been surprising to me, though I suppose at least one of you is going to say, well, is it that surprising? Because we can see this all over the place. And that is true. Has been like the slow, what do I want to say here? Like it's been 5 years since 2020. What's going on? You know, like why are some of these places still abandoned? Why has nothing been put here? Like what's going on? I don't have an answer for that. There are a lot of things that I could speculate about, but I just don't have a solid answer for you. Of course, feel free to share your thoughts and opinions in the comments, but I mean, money is probably somewhere there, but at the same time, you can't make money in an abandoned restaurant. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, I just think it's a really interesting turn of events here at the boardwalk, especially for that. It's like the DVC side of the house, because the boardwalk is split up between the Boardwalk Inn and the Boardwalk Villas. The part that's kind of fizzling out into obscurity right now is the villas. Now, do I think that this is a sign of something bigger happening at the boardwalk? I don't know. I don't really think so. I don't know off the top of my head when the contract for Boardwalk ends. Oh, Beach Club came before Boardwalk, and that ends in what, 2042? I don't remember off the top of my head, so. But for Boardwalk, which ends here, like there's still quite a bit of time. So I don't think that they're like prepping for Boardwalk to no longer be DVC or anything. You know what I mean? If nothing else, I think management, who knows? We'll just have to wait and see how things pan out. But I'll also be curious to see if they're going to put anything else in that shop that is going to be closing, the gallery. You know, just have to wait and find out. But all right, we're almost back at Hollywood Studios now, which means that's about it for our day. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me, kind of walking and wandering. I know some of you guys really love to do this walk with me. We have to do the walk from the TTC to Magic Kingdom at some point soon, now that the weather is getting a little bit nicer, a little bit easier to make that walk. Plus, we have to go check out the Grand Floridian because there have been some updates there as well. But for now, I want to know what you have to say about everything we talked about today, whether it's if you send dishes back when you're dining out and something's not right, or whatever's going on here at the BoardWalk. Tell me your thoughts in a comment down below. Also, be sure to stay tuned because we have a lot of fun on the horizon, including a trip over to Universal Orlando. It has been way too long since we've made a trip out that way. Admittedly, I know I should be ashamed of myself, and honestly I am, but we're gonna fix that with a lot of Universal fun coming soon. So, you know what to do, hit the buttons, make sure you're getting those notifications. But for now, I'm off. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Until then.